My name's David, and the Chronological Bible Reading for October 14th is Matthew 13 and Luke chapter 8. A farmer goes out to a field to sow seed. Some of the seed falls on the path and it's devoured by the birds of the air. Some of the seed falls on the shallow, rocky ground where it grows up quickly because the soil wasn't deep, but it wasn't able to put roots down, so it doesn't last. The third group of seed falls among the thorns, and while it grows, it's not able to produce fruit because it's choked out. The last portion of seed falls on good ground, and it produces fruit, some 100-fold. Jesus spoke in parables because he wanted people to think. Many will listen, but never understand. Many will look, but never truly see. A lot of people are going to hear the word of God and even see miracles, but they will not invest the mental energy to understand it for themselves, and so they'll be lost. The seed represents the word of God, and the 4 different types of soil represent humanity. Notice we are all categorized solely based on how we interact with the word of God. The only thing that matters is what you do with the word when you encounter it. The soil on the path represents people who hear the word of God but don't understand it due to their lack of desire and willingness to give God the time of day. The rocky soil is the people who receive the word of God with joy, but they don't last because they don't count the cost. These people fall away as soon as life gets difficult. They received the word because it sounds good and it makes sense, and they want to go to heaven someday, but they don't really care about having a relationship with God right now. As soon as tribulation and or persecution come, these people go back to the old way of doing things. The soil sown amongst the thorns are those who hear the word of God but never produce fruit. Nothing good that is lasting ever comes as a result of their walk because the worries of this age and the pleasures of this world choke the word, making it unfruitful. These are believers who want to see God move, but not enough to actually take up their cross and follow him in a consistent manner. The final category of soil is the seed which is planted in good ground. These are those who hear the word, understand it, and produce fruit that is lasting and provides sustenance. You and I will be found in this category because we are willing to do the hard work of being transformed more and more into the image of God. The good works that come as a result of the life of these plants is a natural process. The plants don't try to produce good fruit. It's the result of allowing the word to take its natural course. In the parable of the wheat and the weeds, notice that the good seed and the weeds are growing together. The master says to the servants, "Let them both grow together until the harvest." This is a parable of the church, and Jesus is telling us that many within do not belong to the kingdom of heaven. At harvest time, the end of times, the weeds, the unbelievers, will be gathered first. The believers who are represented by the wheat will be gathered second. If the pre-tribulation rapture was a true doctrine, we would expect Jesus to reverse the order of the harvest. In Matthew 13:43, he says, "After the weeds are gathered and burned in the fire, then the righteous will shine like the sun in their Father's kingdom." Imagine how much growth will take place in the people of God when they are no longer affected and diluted by unbelievers, whom Jesus refers to as the children of the evil one. The parables of the mustard seed and the leaven are the same. They both show how the kingdom of heaven should expand in our lives. They both start off small, but they eventually affect everything in their environments. So it is in the kingdom of heaven. As it takes hold of us over time, it will be the primary focus of every aspect of our lives. We will not be people who allow the thorns of the world to choke out the advancement of the kingdom of heaven in our lives. We will take up our crosses daily and follow Jesus, dying to ourselves so that he can have more of us and we can have more of him. In Luke 8, Jesus meets a demon-possessed man who had superhuman strength and lived among the tombs unclothed. He was inhabited by many demons, and they called themselves Legion, and anybody would have been afraid of him. How many times do we look at people through a natural lens and fear them because of their strength? How many people were afraid of this man? And how many Christians today would be intimidated and unwilling to reach out to this gentleman with the truth for fear of their own harm? Jesus saw him for his humanity and set him free from his oppression, which led to the man begging Jesus to allow him to come with him. Jesus said, "Go back home and tell all that God has done for you." And that man evangelizes the entire region. What if you and I shared what God has done for us in a consistent manner? How would that impact those around us? The last story in today's reading is when Jesus is going to Jairus' house to heal his 12-year-old daughter, and on the way there, a woman who had been suffering from bleeding for 12 years touches the hem of his garment and is healed. What is the significance of the number 12? Why is it this woman had been bleeding for 12 years and Jairus' daughter is 12 years old? Jesus was 12 when he left his parents to go to the temple. There were 12 tribes of Israel, 12 disciples who became the 12 apostles. The number 12 represents authority, completion, and perfect government as it was designed to be. There is another similarity between these two stories, the woman who was healed of the issue of blood and the 12-year-old girl who was raised from the dead. Jesus used the same word to describe what happened to both of them. In verse 48, he says, "To the woman, your faith has saved you." And in verse 50, he says, "To the little girl's father, don't be afraid, only believe, and she will be saved." It's interesting that he says saved and not healed to both of them. We tend to focus on the physical healing of the woman and the resurrection of the little girl, but Jesus spoke of their both being saved. At a minimum, he saved the woman from her physical illness and he saved the girl from death. But even more important is the salvation that spares all of us from the spiritual death that we would all suffer from if not for Jesus and his ministry. May you and I be people who focus on the spiritual, which is eternal, and not the physical, which is fleeting. And may God bless you as you seek him. May he fill you with his Spirit and give you insight into his word. See you tomorrow.